Angela Guruji had a question. She asked, Swami Shivam speaks in one of the books, Guruji, about where he will go when he departs the body, when the body is thrown off. Angela asked out of curiosity also, if His Holiness Swami Sahajananda had informed you where he may possibly be once the body had been discarded, and if it is possible in sadhan to communicate with His Holiness.
My Guruji, His Holiness Swami Sahajananda Tirtha, as you all know, he has passed away in the year 2022. He didn't tell me in which plane of existence he is going to go, and neither I'm aware where His Holiness is right now, in which plane of existence. But all that I'm aware is he's always in my heart. Okay. Now coming to your question, Angela ji. Firstly, this knowledge is a different branch of knowledge. It's a different subject. It has nothing to do with yoga per se. It is basically all about after-death phenomena. We do have ancient Sanskrit texts which exhaustively give information about this. But the point is, you have to understand, all this knowledge is from a yoga point of view, it is not necessary and it is of no use, first. But it is sufficient to say, I'll give the general, just to satisfy your curiosity. It is widely believed in, and among all the Sanskrit texts, that there are 14 planes of existence in the world system in which we live. In the world system in which we live, there are supposed to be 14 planes of existence, vertically arranged. Now, here, why I was telling you that all this knowledge is not required for you, and neither it is of any interest, is, first of all, it is a vast literature by itself. Now, when we say world system, this itself is a big debatable subject. What do you mean by a world system? Is it limited to our solar system only? Or does it include something else? Most importantly, that our galaxy, as the modern science is saying, the Milky Way galaxy, is this our world system? So when you say a world system, the immediate question which arises is, what is your idea of world system? Just like when we say God, immediately the question will be asked is, what is your idea of God? Define. So in ancient, I'm only trying to tell you from the point of ancient Sanskrit text, firstly, and to some extent, what I have written in my book, The Illusion. If you are further interested, through my book, The Illusion, I try to give an insight into this, because the reason here is why I'm saying this thing is, it is a delicate subject. The reason being why it is delicate subject is, after attaining moksha, no one has come back to tell the story. after they are freed from the cycle of birth and death, no one has come back to tell the story. And those who keep coming back are those who have not freed from the cycle of birth and death. But they have no memory as to what is happening after the death. So this is the important thing to understand. So from this perspective, if you say, when we say that one world system, what is your idea of the world system? It itself becomes a big subject. Unless we define the world system, what it is, now it is difficult to visualize in which plane a soul goes after death. As I said, there are 14 planes of existence, firstly. And there are some planes of existence which are not part of these 14 planes of existence, which means they are different planes of existence altogether. But yet, they are part of this world system, but not part of these planes of existence. However, notwithstanding all this, generally, if you see the transmigration of the soul, the concept of transmigration of the soul, as long as the transmigration is happening terrestrially, when I say terrestrial transmigration, from one human being to animal to human being, like that, within the geography of the Earth's surface, terrestrial. I repeat, terrestrial. Some human being, there is no guarantee that after death he will be born as a human being again. He may take up as birth as an animal also. It's quite possible. But he may not live in this animal womb for quite some time. Very soon the animal life will be exhausted and he will again drift back to the human womb. Next, what about the other animals? Like, you have dogs taking birth as a wolf, or wolves taking birth as tigers, tigers taking birth as elephants, or elephants taking birth as human beings taking birth as monkeys taking birth as human beings. There is a vibrant transmigration of life that is happening on the surface of the earth itself. This explains the reason why we have so much variation in the population density of various species. Sometimes population of tigers, we say that it is dying. So where are those souls going? They must be getting transmigrated into some other animals. They're as simple as that. For example, today in 2026, we have 8 billion people on the planet Earth. Let's say about 200 to 300 years ago, there were only 4 billion. That means this extra 4 billion of people, where have they come from? Definitely they have not taken birth out of thin air. Neither they were dropped like stones from alien worlds. So they must have migrated in-house. When I say in-house, I take the planet Earth is our house. We all got to think like Earthlings as inhabitants of our planet Earth. So when we think of ourselves as inhabitants of planet Earth, so therefore we can say that it is our in-house affair. So where have these extra 4 billion people have come from? Over a period of time, they must have migrated from the animal kingdom. They must have started taking birth as humans. And humans are going back to the animal kingdoms. Yes, there is a law which otherwise you will not be able to follow the triangle of logic. Generally, it is said before the spirit can start taking birth as a human being, it must have taken millions and millions of births in various wombs. One is that. Second, even after taking birth as a human being, it must have taken birth as a human being so many times. God knows how many times, just unpredictable. So these are the general predictions. But nothing is sacrosanct that once a spirit has taken birth as a human being, it will not drift back into animal kingdom. No. If a spirit has started taking birth as a human being, that means generally it has reached that level. Suppose now the spirit has died with unfulfilled desire, a hunger for eating food. Probably it may be taking birth as a wolf in the animal kingdom. So therefore, because it is this is another cosmic principle. At the last thought, whatever is the last thought you have in the mind, at the time of death, your next birth is going to be governed by that particular last thought. So therefore, so what if someone has died with some unfulfilled desire? He is desperate, but the desire was unfulfilled. What do you expect? He will take birth as some animal or something? Next slide. So therefore, there is nothing is sacrosanct. Animals will keep taking birth as human beings. Human beings will again go back to the animal kingdom. So when you see so many animals on the street, don't be under the impression that they are animals. The spirit which is inherent in them, probably they must have been human beings in their previous birth, some of them. That's why it is always suggested that to treat all animals as if you treat the human beings only. They must have been human beings only. So see, so much of transmigration is happening on the surface of the earth itself. Now coming to the vertical transmigration, which we were talking about earlier, which Angela must have been most interested in. So when it comes to vertical transmigration, out of the 14 planes, Sanskrit texts have been harping that the above 7 are called celestial planes of existence. Below 7 are supposed to be the subterranean planes of existence, or nether worlds, call it. Celestial and subterranean. On the surface of the earth, the earthly plane of existence, if you count from the top, it is 7th. If you count from the top, it is the 7th at the bottom of the celestial regions, which we call it as terrestrial plane of existence. I repeat, terrestrial. That includes everything. Your animal, flora, fauna, everything. Now, when someone is dying from the terrestrial plane of existence, earthly plane of existence, as we all familiar with, the spirit is immediately going into the space, upper atmosphere. The first plane of existence, which is all the texts have been harping on, is the plane of ancestors. The plane of ancestors. I will not get into the Sanskrit terminology of various planes of existence, because they are called Lokas. Means basically you understand this much, that it's a plane of existence. Now, in case of earthly plane of existence, you have body of flesh and blood, because the body is manufactured out of 5 layers. And at the time of death, the external gross body of flesh and blood is left behind. Now, rest of the 4 layers are intact, which means no one is going anywhere. No one is going anywhere. You're just dropping that external body of flesh and blood only, just like you drop your dirty clothes at the end of a day. So this, we call it a subtle body. This subtle body, it leaves the gross body of flesh and blood. It reaches the plane of ancestors. There, as the Sanskrit texts have been saying, I think this is probably common in other cultures around the world also. We have the concept of the judgment day, where the souls are resurrected. Every soul undergoes resurrection, I repeat. And there is something known as judgment day. These concepts are usually same, actually. Even in the Sanskrit literature is also same. I think even the Christian literature is also same, probably, because my knowledge of various cultures and literatures is very zero, absolutely no idea. But as I understand, the concept is there more or less prevalent everywhere. So what happens at this, in the plane of ancestors, is when the soul is resurrected and brought before the Creator, based on the merits, it is disposed of. Based on the merits, it is disposed of immediately. Just like any other king in any other royal court in the earth, on the planet Earth, you take any country since ancient times, you take any country on the planet Earth. Why any country? You take even a small tribal village also, for all you know. There is a chief who is presiding the justice. Subjects are brought before him. He passes the judgment, and the case is disposed of based on the merits of the case. If someone needs to be punished, he is punished. Someone needs to be rewarded, he is rewarded. But you can't kill that person, right? Okay, even if you are killing the person, the soul is not going anywhere. Even if a country has passed a capital punishment to someone, at the best, he may have, his body of flesh and blood must have been, maybe is hanged to death. But he is not going anywhere. So similarly, in the plane of ancestors, based on the merits acquired, or the so-called sins or the virtues, in the eyes of the divine, there is nothing known as saint or a sinner. Any karma is karma. Whether it is a sinful act, whether it is a virtuous act, he may reap the consequences accordingly. That's a different thing. Just like you have action and reaction, someone has committed a good act, a pious act, from the point of human understanding. So he will reap the consequences for that. Right? That's all about it. Accordingly, the souls are disposed of. However, those who have attained the higher merit, they get a passage to the next plane of existence. which we generally call it as heaven. Even in Sanskrit literature also, we call it as heaven by different name, Sanskrit name. And hell is supposed to be at the same plane of lower plane of existence only, where this judgment is being exercised. So you see, effectively, you have only three planes of existence. After the one is earth, earthly plane of existence. Immediately the soul has gone to the ancestors, plane of ancestors, and those who get a passage, free passage, based on their religious merit, they go to heaven, or so-called upper plane. And they are not going to stay there permanently. That is also temporary. Nothing is permanent. Even any punishment awarded in any country, also you know that nothing is permanent. Everything has got a limit. Even a life imprisonment has got a limit. The same is the case here also. People who have acquired good merit, they will enjoy for some time and then they are thrown back to the earth. People who go to hell, they are also thrown back to the earth. So this vertical transmigration is happening essentially between these three planes of existence only. Generally, it is said anyone going beyond that heaven, that from starting from the earth, that is the fourth plane of existence. Generally, it is deemed that he will not return back. There is one of those celestial planes of existence. We take it that he will not return back. And if you keep climbing up those planes of existence, we have the highest planes of existence. Number one, starting from the topmost plane of existence, we call it as the same plane of existence where God resides as in his incarnation as creator, in his form as creator. God incarnates. God has creating the universe or the world system in his role as creator, not in his role as sustainer, not in his role as destroyer. In his role as creator, God is continuously creating the creatures in the world system. He is supposed to be at the topmost plane of existence. Now, when you combine all these 14 planes of existence, when you say this is the world system, then there are so many things which will come into play. For example, should we assume our solar system as the world system? Solar system with all the planets around it, with all the asteroids around it. If you dig deep into the Sanskrit literature, and if you try to find, with a sharp eye, if you try to focus on the indicators which they are pointing at, we more or less generally know that there are various other stars which are part of the world system. Yes, stars. Now this leads to a different hypothesis and conclusion altogether. Because we know that our sun is also a star, but it has got planets around it. And we generally go by the assumption that every star must be having planets around it. But if a star has got planets around it, then it has to be a part of it. Is almost like center of a world system by itself. But whereas in our world system, we are aware that we got to be having some stars which they don't have planetary system. Therefore, they got to be part of this world system only. There are so many indicators for that. When we dig into the deep into the Sanskrit literature, where when we talk about the various sages where they have gone. Just to give you an example, the so-called northern star, polar star, pole star, northern hemisphere, the pole star which you have, we call it by a name. We call it by Dhruv. Supposed to be a sage, basically. He is supposed to be a sage. Now, here is our indication here straight away. What will happen to all these highly evolved souls after their death? They may be taking birth as celestial bodies, for all you know. They may be taking birth as celestial bodies. And they have their own consciousness. They are conscious. They have their own life. They may be taking birth as the asteroids. They may be taking birth as planets. They may be taking birth as elementals. They may be taking birth as independent stars. Independent stars like the North Pole star. And we all also have in Sanskrit literature the so-called the Great Bear, where we have that 7 stars located. They are all supposed to be again sages. So as I said, after the soul has quit the body of flesh and blood, that is after the karma has been exhausted, it cannot take birth as a human being again. Now there is no karma left. There is no question of the spirit being subjected to judgment today. There is no question of the soul going to heaven and hell. Now it is already past both these planes of existence. Now what will happen after that to the independent soul? Now if it takes birth as a celestial body, now you know that the timelines are now gigantic. It will survive as a planet by itself, or as a star by itself. Now, even if you see within these planes of existence, beyond the heavenly abode, we have various planes of existence based on the merits of the souls. But they won't be returning back. They continue to dwell in those planes of existence. Right? But no one is going anywhere. What about their final merger with the universal soul? The timelines are gigantic. If you open up the topic, now we will be discussing about the concept of monism, that is Advaita Vedanta, the concept of monism, or the concept of dualism, Advaita Vedanta. When you say concept of monism, it is always assumed that the individual spirit and the universal soul, they got to merge at some stage. At some stage, they got to merge. They can't remain independently separate forever. That is called monism. The individual spirit, it has to merge with the universal soul at some stage or the other. But in case of dualism, concept of dualism, they don't accept that. They say that the individual spirit can never merge with the universal soul. Now we have got something known as qualified non-dualism. There's a new another concept which has been propounded, wherein they try to reconcile, saying that, see, in theory, monism is all right. Everyone is aware that ultimately the individual spirit has to merge with the universal spirit. But for practical purposes, the timelines are so gigantic. So it is even pointless to even speculate about it. Now you tell me, we just now discussed, we have a solar system, we have so many planets, asteroids, comets, so many celestial bodies. And then we have elementals. Each element has got a god or a goddess. When you say element of the principle of solidity or the earth element, soil, whether it is earth soil, whether it is Martian soil, whether it is lunar soil, whether it is the soil of some other planet, there is a representative of the god or goddess for that. And first of all, every planet itself has consciousness there. Every planet is conscious. Today, the modern science may not have reached that level still to figure out all these things. But it doesn't, it is even probably even it's a simple logic will say that in such a massive universe, people keep asking this question. One question people keep asking, oh, where are all others? Where are all others? Some gentleman keeps commenting, some scientist. It's the most childish question to be asked like that. Because what did you think? You think that you are the most advanced civilization or what on earth right now? So you are asking grandly, where are all others? My friend, the entire cosmos is vibrant with life. If they are not interacting with you, it doesn't mean they are not there. They are trying to be polite. That's all about it. So every plane of existence, it is vibrant with life, spirits. You may not be able to see them. It's a different thing. Now, but then there are some planes of existence here, which I want to point out. For example, the lunar's plane of existence. With the plane of existence on the moon. It is not part of the 14 planes of existence. It is exclusively separate. Why it is separate, I also don't know, because I am not a scholar. But the lunar surface has got a separate plane of existence by itself, with full of vibrant life, with creatures inhabiting the lunar soil, but not in flesh and blood as we imagine to be, in their own subtle bodies. When the creatures themselves don't have gross bodies, it is foolishness on our part to expect flora and fauna there. We don't know in what frequency they are existing, the flora and fauna there. That's what you got to understand it. Just because we are seeing a barren land there with no sign of water, no sign of life, we don't jump to the conclusion that it is barren. For all you know, it may be fully vibrant with full of life, inhabited by beings which we have no idea. Whether it is Mars, whether it is planet Venus, or whether it is so one is that. So this is where these souls go after death. People who have completed their karma, who managed to neutralize their karma, they will go to one of the planes of existence there. There their final journey will begin for the ultimate merger with the universal soul. But that may take God knows how much time. We know, no one knows. See, it is like this. Today, let's say, you catch hold of a gentleman, let's say, one of the alien. First of all, you have to be very clear what you mean by alien. Like people who are living in the ancestral plane of existence, they are not aliens. They are your own, brothers and sisters who must have died recently. People who have died, let's say in your Ireland, where do you expect them to go? They will go to this plane of existence only, this plane of ancestors. Or they may, if someone has done a good job, like James Tynan, they might have gone to heaven. But even the citizens of heaven, they are not aliens. They are not aliens. They are your fellow brothers and sisters. People who are in hell undergoing punishment, people who are in heaven who are enjoying goodies of life, or people who are under trial, let's say plane of ancestors, they are not aliens. They are very much your brothers and sisters. Similarly, my Guruji, if he has gone to one higher plane of existence, they are not aliens for me. My Guruji himself is there. How it is going to be they are aliens for me? When we talk about aliens, then we must be talking about some other world system altogether. Some other world system which is far, far away from us, light years away from us. As I said, within the world system itself, there may be some stars also. Even the nearest stars which we see, they all must be part of the world system. That if you see chop off one chunk of that galaxy, which contains, let's say, one solar system with planets around it and a few stars around it. The entire chunk of one galaxy is a world system, you can say that. Okay? So if you have to go to some other world system, you have to cross so many stars, right? You see? It's so far. Them, for want of a better name. Okay? But in our world system, when we are existing as humans, let's say in 21st century, 2026, just imagine what if some other world system, people may be living as if they were living in 15th century, like how we lived about 400-500 years back. Let's say 500 years back, when our ancestors were living, let's say in your Ireland, during the era of your Vikings, right? Sometimes around that time, when you are having all the battles being fought, that time there was no technology, there was no science and technology. Suppose, let's say, someone have visited us from outside the solar system. How did we know about them? We wouldn't have known, right? We wouldn't have known only whether they have come or not. And even if someone was trying to contact us, we didn't have any science radio receivers or telescopes during those times. Obviously, we won't have been able to receive any signal. In our existence as human beings, even in the recorded history of modern times, let's say even from the time of the Roman Empire, the last 2,000, 3,000 years, take it, let's say 3,000 years, roughly 2 to 3,000 years. Our age of science and technology is just recent phenomenon. It's only very recently that we have manufactured the telescopes and we have built transmitters, wireless transmitters, and the telescopes just about 100, 200 years, 300 years back. What happened before the time of Galileo? There were no telescopes. So what someone was trying to contact us at that time, how will they contact us? Because we don't have the frequency to match them. So similarly, if our scientists are trying to contact someone in the other world systems, it is possible that they are not in our state. They may be primitive. They may be living about how we lived 500 years or 1000 years ago. They will not have telescopes to receive our signals. So is it fair when we say, where are the others? How do we know where are the others and how will they respond? And what if they are more advanced than us? Maybe they think that we are not worthy enough for them to interact with us. One is that. Secondly, even without our knowledge, they may be already inhabiting the planet. That answers your question, which you were mentioning on the other day, James. So many scientists are disappearing and all that phenomena you were mentioning.
Yes,
Who knows?
yes, Guruji,
Someone
yes.
from some other world system, if they are more advanced than us, then they don't need our permission to come and carry out experiments here. They don't need our permission because their technology is so advanced. They can remain without getting identified or obvious to us. And in case if they are not that advanced, in any case they can't travel to our planet Earth. And even if you keep sending any number of signals to them, they won't respond. So even if you take our galaxy as a whole, that is the Milky Way galaxy, even the modern science admits that there are 400 billion star systems within the Milky Way galaxy alone. Even if you assume that, let's say, out of 400 billion star systems, let's say that each world system has got, let's say, 100 stars. Break up the entire Milky Way galaxy into small chunks, like meat chunks. Let's say about 100, 200 stars, one chunk. Even then, we are talking about, just see how many world systems within our Milky Way galaxy alone. Various people must have been in various having the same like us, human beings, in various stages of development. Some may be building the initial agrarian economies. Some may be living in Stone Age. Some may be living in like how we lived during the time of Vikings, fighting the battles. So how will we ever come in contact? It is pointless to even to think about those systems. Forget about them. Let them live their life. And we were never supposed to ever interact. Now let's even focus within our world system. Now this world system itself is so vast. If you are assuming these 14 planes of existence, with let's say a reasonably galaxy as part of our world system, maybe it's possible that it's only our star has the planets habiting around it. Even if there are some stars which have got planets around it, the so-called your exoplanets, they may not be harboring any life. Anyway, that is besides the point. So we can focus on our own world system, our own various planes of existence, and there is a So much of transmigration is happening here. People from earthly plane of existence, after their death, they are going to the ancestral plane of existence. Some are getting sanctioned to go to the heaven. Some are condemned to hell. Some may be getting condemned to the subterranean world systems. Or maybe they are moving from one species to the other on the surface of the earth itself. So this transmigration itself is a huge phenomenon, and the timelines are so gigantic here. So therefore, from this perspective, if you see, and this anyone who has quit this cycle of birth and death, he is not going to come back to the earth again. He is part of the other mainstream cosmos. And just now we discussed, there's so much of life, vibrant life, which is transmigrating from one plane to the other. Just imagine that. Even if as we are speaking right now, I think 3 to 4 people must be dying, and 4 to 5 people must be taking birth. Even as we are speaking. And we are talking about only human beings. We are not talking about the other kind of transmigration which is happening all over the earth now. So this transmigration is a vibrant business. We got to understand it. And those who have quit it after the exhaustion of their karma, no one has come back to tell the story. What happens after that? And I would not like to comment on the divine incarnations, and I will refrain from it. Otherwise, this topic may become controversial otherwise. So I will not comment on the divine incarnations, how they manage to incarnate on earth. If technically, if it is not feasible for any advanced spirit or a soul to take birth on the earth in the form of flesh and blood, if there is no karma left, how did the divine incarnations taken birth? I will not comment on it. Okay?
Yeah.
Next. Coming to the various sages who have managed to quit this body of flesh and blood, they have gone to various planes of existence. Some plane of existence. I'm not going anywhere, even after my death. My Guruji will always remain in my heart as long as I'm practicing my yoga to burn down my karma and free myself from this cycle of birth and death. My Guruji will always be in my heart. So that's it. I'm sorry if I have disappointed you, Angela. See? Really, I don't know where my Guruji is right now at present, in which plane of existence he is there. Neither I am in my all the time, morning to night. And I keep interacting with him. But not in the sense as you are saying, okay? Are you satisfied or not, Angela?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Very good explanation.
So, you don't need this kind of data and knowledge. It's not required. You can
No,
pursue.
I know it's not required. It was just curiosity.
Yeah. You can
And
lead
I mean, wherever he is fine there.
Yes. And if you're interested, you can read the subject, but unnecessarily you'll get distracted. You'll be wasting time. You'll waste unnecessary, you'll waste a lot of time. if you get into this literature. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, you have a whole lot of literature is available. You have a literature available.
Sorry?
You have easy access to all this literature on the internet.
Yes, but I don't have time to read it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't bother.
No.
It's not required. Okay? So that's why I wanted to give you this insight into this. Okay, James, please carry on.
Yes. The other question I had, Guruji, was about artificial intelligence, AI, and how it is leading to confusion. Many people nowadays, Guruji, think AI itself has some form of consciousness, but it appears that artificial intelligence, AI, is just an extension of the human intellect, an invention, but it seems to be a major distraction and leads to a lot of confusion in the world, the role of AI. So if you could speak on that topic.
The industrial revolution has begun in UK only, England. So what happened when the industrial revolution began? Machines have started performing the labor much easy. What it used to take so many human labor, human hours, manual hours. The machine is to perform the task in no time. So same is the case with artificial intelligence also. It is an extension of the human intellect only. It is an extension of the human intellect. Now coming to the, if someone has got that element of doubt, what if the AI has consciousness? Now they need to understand the structure of the origin of human being. Then this element, no one will have this kind of a doubt. They will just dump it. They will not have any, they will not even entertain this topic again. You see, I will answer this thing based on the concept of Kashmir Shaivism. According to the Kashmir Shaivism, or rather, I will say, we have got 6 philosophical systems in India since ancient times. The major philosophical systems, there are only 6 of them. And they all act in buddy pairs. If one is a theory, another is practice. In essence, we have got basically 3 buddy pairs. So now if you dwell into all of these, the what do you call it? The crux of the matter, again it is same. All are saying that again what we are practicing, the various yoga systems and all that, they are basically boiling down to 4 yoga systems. Either it is meditation, or the path of devotion, or the path of your performing your duty. karma with dispassion, without expectation or without expecting for any fruit. So accordingly, according to one of the philosophical system called as Vedanta, which we are saying, it has again got, there is something known as Kashmir Shaivism, which is very popular in India, where everyone is practicing that. The God, the universal soul, has descended to take birth as a human being in 36 steps. So at the one end of the spectrum, you have the universal soul, and the other end of the spectrum, you have the individual soul. Now, it is a different thing that the universal soul has taken up birth as many individual souls. That is a different issue. But to take up for the universal soul to descend, make the descent, and to take up birth as a human being, there are 36 steps involved in this. Now, out of these 36, if you take out the first 11, you separate them out, you focus on the next 25. That next 25, they classified as another philosophy by itself called as Sankhya philosophy. Now, why I'm telling you this 11 and this 25 here is, there is a serious thing which is important for you as far as your AA is concerned here. Out of this 25 things, steps which I'm talking, I'm not getting into those 11. It becomes complicated otherwise. The video will become too long. There is something known as that if you take only these 25 steps, I'm in focus. Take the 25th and 24th. 25th and 24th from top, coming from top. As you coming from 36, 35, 34, 33, like that. As I told you, keep the first 11 aside. Take this 25th and 24th. They are like a coin together. On one side of the coin, you have the soul. On the other side of the coin, you have the nature. The spirit and the nature. The 25th and 24th. Clear? Are you following my train of logic now? So far? Now, here is the crucial thing after this. Now, what happens to the gentleman? Let us call him Mr. Soul, Mrs. Nature. God has now almost descended now as a human being, as an individual soul. From the universal soul, remove the first 11 steps. Now, the soul has been actually, to put it in my own language, the soul has been screwed. The soul has been screwed nice and proper by now. It is now in the form of a coin. On one side is the spirit, and the other side is the nature. It is in a state of bliss. It is in a state of bliss. Over that is the first layer formed, as we know it, as we know the manifestation of the creation, or call it the very creative power itself. That is called intellect. Or this gentleman called Mr. Saul, who has got Mrs. Nature as his girlfriend, you have the first layer formed of illusion, which we are calling it as intellect, co-located along with egoism, I-ness. That is the first layer formed. And in this layer is the data of karma, which has been carried forward from the past life. So there are three things here. The data which has been carried forward from the past life, the intellect, pure intellect, the creative power, along with egoism. These three things. Or that is the human mind, conscious human mind. Before that is these three things. Your data of karma, which has been carried forward, your intellect, and the egoism. You call it a subconscious mind if you want. Now, if you take off this data, the intellect becomes defunct. If you neutralize this data or delete the data, your intellect becomes defunct. That is, subconscious mind becomes defunct. If the subconscious mind becomes defunct, the conscious mind is absolutely calm. And this gentleman known as Mr. Saul, whom I was referring to a little while earlier, along with his, let's say, partner, which is the Mother Nature, that gentleman starts getting a first glimpse of himself in the calm waters of the mind. That absolute bliss that is getting reflected back to it. If this is the case with a human being, now you create a robot, you have put everything. Instead of the karmic data, you have pumped in the normal data there.